Welcome, everybody. This is the Omnichannel Effectiveness from land-based to digital and back. Our stage sponsor is Bragg Gaming. Your moderator today is Zoe Ebling. She is VP of Interactive at AGS, and I'll leave it to her.
Okay, hello. Thanks everyone for coming. Nice and full here today. So we're gonna kind of start out by just introducing all the speakers today. So we're gonna go down the line and just introduce yourself and do a quick 30-second why Omnichannel is important to your business.
Sure. Bobby Soper, have my own business on gaming and hospitality. Spent many years in the corporate world, land-based primarily, Mohegan Sun, CEO of that organization. Now I'm an investor partner in a number of both land-based iGaming ventures, and that's why Omnichannel is important to me.
Hi everyone, I'm Ollie Bartlett, VP of Gaming for BetMGM. Obviously, the name BetMGM inherently an omni-channel company with lots of casinos across America and our online business.
Hi, I'm Stacy Rowland. I'm General Counsel for Genting Americas. And it's important so we can provide more options for our patrons.
Hey everyone, my name is Nick Patrick. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Radar. We're a geolocation platform. We have a lot of customers both inside and outside of gaming. So outside of gaming, we've been around for almost a decade. We support digital transformation and omnichannel efforts for folks like Dick's Sporting Goods and Panera, and building a big roster of customers inside the gaming space. So we see geolocation as a great tool to build great omnichannel experiences, and hopefully can share some learnings here today.
Thanks. My name is Jason McCullough. I'm VP of Galaxy Gaming, iGaming. It's important to us is because we started as a land-based table games company, and we still are. That's predominantly what we do. But we've gradually gone into the iGaming space, and we have many partners that are looking to bring both sides together.
Thank you. So as you can see, we have a wide variety of people speaking on the topic. And I think if you've been in the industry for the past few years, omnichannel has been this very ominous overarching piece. And there's a lot of ways that we could talk about it. For the context of this panel, we're going to focus on the iGaming portion of omnichannel, but there's a lot more to omnichannel than what we're going to talk about today. So just noting that. I think what would be helpful is to talk about what we think the value that omnichannel brings to the industry.
I'm happy to start. I am actually a member of the Mohegan tribe, so it's my family. So we're very fortunate as a tribe. We're in several jurisdictions that have both land-based and iGaming, real pay-for-play iGaming. And so we've had a lot of experience in the last couple of years. And I think there's no question that what we have found is that iGaming is net accretive to the bottom line. That's number one. When you look at the experience, generally speaking, when we assess, our database, 70% that sign up and play on the iGaming platform were not rated players, did not have a loyalty card on our land-based, property. So the accretive nature of iGaming, we're already starting to see it. The post-COVID, push on land-based is starting to fade, but we're more than making it up, on the iGaming side.
It's quite interesting. I think we're seeing kind of the same within the MGM world. Obviously, carded play versus non-carded play in land-based casinos is a big problem. We have such a wealth of data on the online side that we're finding moving people back from online to online by virtue of the amount of data we then have of them is a perfect transition. So it's quite interesting. We see the same there.
Okay, I would say, so in New York, there is no iGaming. Not yet. But iGaming, I think, just like sports betting, will bring in a new market to the bricks and mortar facilities. So, and I think that's a good thing. New York is not going to pass any legislation that's going to reduce jobs. And so we just need to find a balance to be able to bring in new players and have them online and in our facilities.
Yeah, at Radar we talk a lot about the Amazon effect and the Uber effect. Consumers have hundreds of apps on their smartphone. They have a ton of choice around where they bet, where they order food from, where they shop, and so we think about omnichannel as a way to deliver awesome experiences that kind of break through the noise and also, sort of turn your physical footprint from a liability into an asset. So I think geolocation is a really powerful way to build location-aware app experiences, maybe location-based offers. And just sort of break through the noise in a crowded environment is how we think about it.
Sure. So from a table games perspective, for what we do, we're bringing in a whole new avenue of players just because on a land-based side, sitting down at a table can be very intimidating. And now that we're getting into RNG games or live dealer games especially, we're seeing much more participation in a lot of the games that we do. There's much more acceptance of trying out something for the first time. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's to bring that experience so that it actually does help the land-based at some point to take them back to sit down.
Nice. And I think just adding, my own experience, earlier this year, AGS launched the first omni-channel release with Caesars in New Jersey. So it was a cabinet that was available in Atlantic City and online, and it was wildly successful. So we're really seeing that offering games to players in this manner is bringing people into the casino. It's also getting people to play online. So we absolutely know that there's value in discovering, omnichannel. Speaking of that, there's been some analyst reports this past year. There's been one that came out, I think it was an Eilers report that said, hey, in states where there's both iGaming and land-based, we're seeing that these are symbiotic businesses and that they're actually both growing. But then we've also seen, some recent things come out about how iGaming is surpassing land in New Jersey, especially in Atlantic City, and that raised some concerns, especially for a business like ours where we're predominantly land-based. What do we think about this?
I'll go ahead and start. It is a hot topic. I think this previous panel up here, addressed it somewhat as well from a political legislative side. I think a couple things. One, there's been several reports. Most of them say that there's generally a little cannibalization. The last one that came out last month said it actually grows land-based. I don't necessarily buy into that, but I do buy in the fact just from our own experience that, again, it's net accretive, right? There may be some cannibalization, but at the end of the day, it's much smaller than the net benefit of iGaming revenue. I will say this, and I like to talk a lot about this particular topic. I think there's a wrong focus on this question about cannibalization. And that is because ultimately, it's not going to be iGaming that cannibalizes land-based. That's not the issue for land-based operators. The issue is that the evolving generation, the millennials, now the Zs, aren't interested in land-based product or interested less in land-based product. The roadmap, you don't need a crystal ball. Look what's happened to retail. In 1986, there were 25,000 shopping malls. Today, there's 700. In 10 years, there's probably going to be, less than 100. That's just the reality. The demand for land-based product is going to decline. The real question is, how do you make up for that? And how do you leverage those bricks and mortar assets? Because the good news is, while millennials don't necessarily, want land-based product, they do like experiences. So those bricks and mortar product can be leveraged for that. So, from my perspective, it's not that it cannibalizes, it's a necessity. And ultimately, how legislators adopt it, are these licenses tied to the bricks and mortar operations, are going to be the critical questions today.
Agree with almost all of that. I think online isn't and shouldn't replace the land-based experience. There's going online and logging in and playing a few games of blackjack is different to going on a Friday night to a casino and having fun with your friends. I think where it does get interesting is these products look sort of blur the barriers between that. Live Dealer is a great example. There's another product looking in the corner there, a wager, I think is quite an interesting product where you can connect to real physical slot machines and play them through your phone. This works both on property when the slot machines might be too busy, or just when you want to stay at home but have that experience. But I can't see that ever replacing going to the casino, having a few beers, sitting at the sports bar with your friends and enjoying a night. They both should and can work symbiotically.
Yes, I agree. People do like to get out of their pajamas and go out. I'll say something probably not popular. I do think it's important that the bricks and mortars are the ones that are operating the iGaming, so that there is cross-marketing. We can, it's a double income family instead of a single one. And for the younger generation, like I said earlier, sports betting did increase table games for folks. You move the floor, have those tables near where the action is, where the loud music is, where the fun is. And you have, increase your other options so that if you're with a group of people and one person doesn't want to game, they're at least going to get a good meal or listen to some good music.
Something we see across industries, whether it's gaming or retail or restaurants, is that digital experiences tend to be stickier. They let you innovate more quickly. So I feel like you have to do it. And oftentimes they can make your land-based or brick and mortar experiences better, and you can do some really unique things. Outside of gaming, we power the store mode for Dick's Sporting Goods. So if you download a Dick's Sporting Goods app and open it in store, Radar does the geofencing there, and they unlock all sorts of cool sort of in-store offers, in-store app features, et cetera. I think there's an opportunity for land-based casinos to do the same. One of our customers inside the gaming space is Every. So Every is working with us to power geolocation in their Vi app, which is a mobile app for land-based casinos. And beyond the compliance stuff, they're thinking about all sorts of cool location-based messaging, location-based offers, et cetera. So I think digital is really important. It tends to be stickier, and it can also enhance land-based or brick-and-mortar experiences, and I think location can be an important tool for that.
Yeah, I would agree with all that, what everybody said. But the interesting thing that's coming up in my world lately is how do we take that person that's sitting at the pool in Vegas and get them on a table? And that's what, this more on-prem stuff is coming. Even the land-based operators are exploring this digital option. It's not just necessarily an iGaming option, it's just, like I said, on-prem. So that's, I don't necessarily agree with the fact that you can't have both. So I think just, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I think that the New Jersey report wasn't super fair, because I think people have been leaving Atlantic City for a while now. And to correlate that to iGaming, we might be missing some key pieces to that conversation to make that decision. So it'd be interesting to look at some other states that maybe don't have the complexities that Atlantic City does, right? We shouldn't have opened casinos in Pennsylvania, New York, and Connecticut if we wanted people to stay in Atlantic City. I think this one, just kind of anybody can take it. We don't have to go through the line, but we talked about some products. Obviously, there's the joint slot launches that I think are popular and relevant right now. Ollie mentioned some other unique products. Any other products that might be worth talking about, how they're going to close the gap for online and land?
Omnichannel jackpots, I really, really like. So the ability to win the same amount of money, the same prize pool online and land. So if you're not lucky enough to win it that night, you can win it the next day, hopefully, whilst you're online. I think there's a lot of room for that to grow. There's one in New Jersey at the moment via IGT. I think there'll be a lot more coming. I know it's technically quite hard to do, but I think there's a lot of runway in that product.
Yeah, I would just add, I think often overlooked and is going to be a game changer, we've already seen it in a few markets, is iLottery, right? I think iLottery, not only just in volumes, but in addition, I think it's also going to help catalyze some of these legislators to move forward with iGaming. So I think that's something to look out for.
Shh, don't mention iLottery. That one's flown under the radar for a while. We're getting into that space, and it looks to be a good one.
I would, from new products, branded studios are becoming more and more of a must-have, I guess, for the operators here. And so, for instance, it's more of my conversations with the Evolutions and the Playtechs of the world is to educate on what the operators want here. And so using those branded studios to do the jackpots, which on tables, which nobody does. We're in a unique situation where we have these relationships and we have the land-based placements so that we can work towards getting that solution done, hopefully soon. And go down that road as well.
That's a really good point. Progressive jackpots on table games. You see it in practically every table in land-based casinos, but almost non-existent online. I think there's a lot of runway there.
Yeah, we launched the first integrated progressive multi-games with Bragg last year, year before. And that was, when I first started doing this job, it was, why wasn't that done before? It just seemed to be an oversight. But it's what I've come to realize is that these vendors are European-based, no offense, but don't really understand what happens here. And to your point, they have progressive meters over there too, but it's not at the same correlation.
That's one of the most frustrating things I hear in this industry, saying it as a Brit that's worked in this industry. We did this in Europe, it's going to work in the US. I think it's insulting to the American people who arguably know more about gaming than us, the patrons here, because they've been going to casinos for a long time. Of course, there's a lot of similarities, but we should never rest on our sort of decades of experience in Europe and expect it to work here. We need to learn from these guys that have been doing it far longer than us in land-based casinos.
Yeah, I mean, the other hot topic for me with the U.S. operators is craps. And you tell my good friend Todd at Evolution, why do I need to invest more in craps? And I say, Todd, you have this big ball of... you have a kind of, I should say monopoly, but it's close. Yeah. And you're the only game in town, and everybody is wanting more RTP in their games. Mm-hmm. But they don't get that because it's not top of mind over there in Malta. Mm-hmm. So
I think, in some of our discussions leading up to this panel too, we were talking a little bit about, from the progressive standpoint, pool liquidity. And, what we're seeing now is a couple people in the space that are connecting land and online jackpots, but it's in a state by state basis. And there are other places like provinces in Canada where there's more pool liquidity. And that's been, really helpful to the success of the product. I think from like a legal and then also maybe like a location standpoint, are there concerns? Do we think we're going to be able to bridge that gap? And what might be some steps in that direction, or some things to think about as concerns of why we're not moving that way?
I'm not an expert on this topic. I think what I will say, because you said location, which I guess was an opening for me. Again, going back to the point, I think consumers expect consistent, seamless experiences across digital and physical. If I walk into a McDonald's and I have my preferences saved on the app, maybe they should be pulled up at the register or vice versa. So I think anything that leads to a more sort of seamless connection between the digital and physical is going to be in demand. So that's my sort of outsider take on something that I don't know very much about. Hopefully that was helpful.
And I'll answer, in my former life, I was a lobbyist, and if the law doesn't work, we just get it changed.
So do you think there's runway for states to enter into a compact to share jackpot liquidity like poker and other things? Do you think there's scope for that?
We're not talking about lottery, right?
No. Casino jackpots.
I don't know.
It would be very nice for us, obviously, as a multi-state company, to be able to pull the jackpot. The jackpots are big enough in a single state, but we do get to lottery-like jackpots when you pull it across everywhere. Huge, life-changing amounts of money. I think it's something we should focus on as an industry.
In a limited way.
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely.
How do we, and I don't know if you guys also agree with this, but we've just been talking about omnichannel for a really long time. And there's not that many products or companies that are actually stepping into this space and executing on it. How do we change that? How do we make this, more of a profitable incremental segment within the casino space?
Well, I'll start. First of all, we have to legalize iGaming, right? Like that's number one. I'll say this. I think for those jurisdictions, those limited handful, whatever it is now, 6 that have pay-for-play iGaming, I think you're starting to get some good data, right? Again, I'll go back to the personal experience. From an omnichannel perspective, on the iGaming side, the loyalty programs are tied, right, for Mohegan. However, you collect the data, right? You put them in the same database. However, from a redemption standpoint, and this is where omnichannel comes in, redemption right now only occurs on the property, on land base, right? And it's working pretty well, right? We're seeing good redemption rates. We're seeing new customers, unique visitors that we haven't seen before, which is really the end game here behind omnichannel. So I think we're starting to get the data and showing that and then refining that. But ultimately, you just need more experiments, right? You need more states, to get on board. I think we're starting to see it on sports wagering because now there are a lot of states, and we're learning a lot on that side as well, right? I think it was Stacey had mentioned, the synergies with table games. We're starting to see some of that and accretive loyalty because of the sports wagering platform as well. But we need to get more states on board.
I think we do a lot of similar stuff at MGM. The loyalty is linked. We've now obviously done a deal with Marriott as well, so that's been extended a little more. I think, Nick, you made a good point on McDonald's. If you go, the app is the same as the restaurant. It should be the same in our world as well. I'd expect at some point for our online product to have, if you're a land-based customer, you come into the online product, your favorite games from the land-based are there, easily accessible. I would like to see from a supplier side, Zoe, maybe this is a request for you, closer ties, more games that launch land and online at the same time. I think there's too long a wait, and we can really leverage our omnichannel powers when they're launched at the same time. And I think it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, from an outsider on the supply side, suppliers are still operating a land first, and if it works, bring it online model. It certainly was. And do you feel that's maybe changing now? And certainly I'd encourage it because you could argue be far quicker on an online side.
Definitely at AGS. We have established our own in-house studio. We're doing some interactive first content that's been resonating really well to test some things quicker than. And I think, we've seen this strategy work before if we isolate it in the RMG market. If we look at social, right? Social has been a way that we've been able to test in RMG, and I think we're seeing that online is a way that we can test in land. And I think to your point, like lining up the games so that they come out at the same time, I think is important. But then also on the operator side, making sure that we can execute. And I think everybody needs a Caitlin Toddy. I don't know if she's in here, but being able to make sure that we are able to educate players on what this is in both online and land, and that we're able to create a meaningful and impactful way that players can come in and engage with these types of campaigns is also important to the success, because players don't know if a game's online and land and if it launches in the same time unless we're educating and inviting them to participate in that.
I will say, and that's the importance of having the bricks and mortars with these licenses. I believe there's bricks and mortars have invested not only in the state and the community, and should be the ones that they can then bring in the players, offer the iGaming, have them in the bricks and mortars, have the synergy there.
I think we as an industry have been slightly guilty, speaking for ourselves as well, of not taking our land-based counterparts on the ride with us sometimes. So when we come to them and say, hey, here's a promotion we need you to do, and it's all targeted on online stuff, there might be some kind of hesitance. We're getting a lot better at dealing with our land-based customers, selling them the dream and making them understand that it's a net win for all of us, and not doing only promotions that benefit us online, bringing players back to the casinos, which I think is absolutely essential.
I would just add, from the vendor side, it's a couple things. First of all, it requires a lot of investment, and a lot of commitment, and also it requires a lot of buy-in. To your point, Ollie, it's not just on the operator side where you have the silos, it's on the vendor side. So what people are making for land-based, they don't necessarily want to share digital, and vice versa, digital doesn't necessarily want to create for land-based. So I think that those walls are coming down, but it's been interesting to watch.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what we were talking about at the start of this, right? Like the articles that are coming out that are kind of shaping how we're talking about this, and a lot of times it can feel like land against online, but until we start to move into a different space where we understand that our businesses can benefit each other, we're going to miss opportunities. So I want to leave some time for questions, but I did want to talk about as well, what do we think is next, right?
I'll take a stab. I think I'm a little more bullish than probably some as it relates to the passage of iGaming legislation in the next several years, not overnight for sure. And I think for two reasons. One, just the market dynamics, right? Mentioned earlier, we talked a little bit about it, that, at the end of the day, over 50% of the population, now well over 50% of the population, is comprised of millennials and Gen Zs. And now we got Gen, whatever it is, Alpha, A, whatever, coming up. That is driving different taste and preferences. And those market dynamics will shift even the political landscape. And then second, I think, we've talked about how sports wagering hopefully will act as a catalyst. I think lottery will as well to help these legislators, make decisions that will move this forward quicker. So I think that also changes the landscape. So I frankly think in the next 5+ years you're going to see a huge run on legalization of iGaming and iLottery.
I think on more of a product side, I'd expect to see a lot more shared saved states between land and online games. If you've been playing a game with some kind of persistence feature on your app and you go into a casino, there's an ability to transfer your loyalty to that machine onto the land-based machine. And I think another area, which I'm not sure I'm even sold on, but I think we need to look at as an industry, is the growth of non-traditional games in the online space and how that's appealing to younger players. Does that work in a land-based state? Do these tap-based games or crash-based games work in the land-based world? Would that appeal to the younger players that are playing them online to bring them in? I'm not sure, but I look forward to seeing if anyone tries it.
Well, New York, commercial casinos, I think the first license was issued in 2017. So New Yorkers are getting used to commercial casinos. When I say that, elected officials, everything. So they're getting there, but not in a New York minute.
Yeah, I think maybe going back to the previous question, I think one thing that stimulates innovation and help folks move faster is just sort of a rich ecosystem of tools and infrastructure and vendors that are flexible, that accommodate that innovation. I think one learning, really leaning into the gaming space in the last year or two is, I think geolocation, for example, is really underutilized in the gaming space. I think incumbents tend to focus on compliance, maybe to the exclusion of other location-based marketing use cases or in-venue or on-property app experience use cases. They tend to be priced per ping, which kind of makes it difficult to collect more data that you can use for personalization, et cetera. So honestly, walking around the floor, I see a lot of really cool CRM, personalization vendors entering the gaming space. And I think all this infrastructure is really needed to facilitate these types of seamless experiences that bridge digital and land-based. So we're excited to hopefully play some part in that. I think there's going to be a lot of innovation around location-based marketing, personalization that facilitates some great experiences here over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and from a product perspective, I mean, it's like I mentioned before, it's just about bringing that same experience that you have been sitting at a table to the online perspective. So if we can get the live dealer version that somebody might have to connect to the table at the blackjack table at the floor, or also have an RNG version as well, and have them all pooling in the same. That's where I think it's going to go. I mean, we're working on this globally right now with our partnership with the Carnival Cruises. So look, bringing all those ships together. So that's going to be an interesting event this year for us.
Anybody from the audience have any questions for our speakers?
My name's Allison. I work for Mohegan Digital. My name is Allison, and I work for Mohegan Digital. And so we are working on bringing digital players back to the property and vice versa. But we've seen that a lot of our digital players don't live in a reasonable commute to the in-state property. So what are some strategies or suggestions that you have to get the people who live an hour plus away to the property on more than a monthly or a quarterly basis, besides doing sweepstakes and giveaways to things that they can do at the property?
I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Because the commute is long, and they've got the online app right there. Maybe those kind of players are the people that benefit these omni-channel companies such as yours and ours. Look, they can't get to the property as often, and maybe that's fine. Maybe we can offer them the same experience online as much as possible. Hey, remember you played 88 Fortunes last time when you're in the casino? Here's a promotion on that online. Oh, and by the way, if you come to the casino next month, here's 50% off your hotel room. I think we have to just embrace that. Those people that come on a destination visit are just those people, and that's why we need to build up our omni-channel, make it as seamless as possible. The experience is as much the same because it's too far to travel.
Yeah. I'll add, Jeff Hamilton probably will kill me for saying this, who's the GM of the Mohegan property, but I do think there's a real opportunity, especially if you have a property like Mohegan, 36 restaurants, a world-class arena. And as I mentioned before, a lot of these players, at least I believe, still enjoy those experiences, right? We have a lot of concerts that drive that younger generation, as you know, and enjoy the meal, enjoy the nightlife as well. So I think it's leveraging, those assets, not only just because they have the points to redeem them, but, as Oliver mentioned, I think there's an opportunity to look, from a CRM perspective, what their specific tastes are and target those land-based assets using that data.
We work with a lot of retailers who think about how can I use my digital properties to drive more foot traffic, and Oliver mentioned discounts. How can you potentially offer an exclusive sort of on-property discount? Maybe use the geofence to govern unlocking that. Maybe folks are passing through the area. You could hit them with a location-based push notification in a really thoughtful way to say, hey, maybe swing through while you're in the area. So I think there are strategies using geolocation to reach folks right place, right time, and maybe unlock offers that make a visit compelling.
Who else has a question?
I got a twofer.
All right.
So, if a casino wants to do omni-channel, what are the first steps that they should take to explore that? Because it's extremely difficult. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And then, how does it evolve to the point that inside the casino, you actually are doing the omni-channel gaming? So, Caesars just announced they're going to do a live Evo studio at the Tropicana. So now they're integrating the online product on display at the casino for mobile use. And I could be standing in the casino in front of it and playing. But how do you get to that point? And how long does it take to evolve?
I'll tell you what you don't do, first of all, is operate them as entirely separate businesses for too long, because then it's really hard to go back and change that. The first thing you do is get everyone in a room and understand the benefits of online, the benefits of land, and how you can work together, and then you go from there. But certainly one of the things that I think all of us have struggled with the coming of digital gaming is having the separate teams run it is, of course, fine. That's our experience. But not having them in the same room together very frequently then becomes some problems and some animosity. So that's the first thing you do. Make friends with everyone first.
Yeah, I'm going to basically reiterate this. I will say, of course, it goes without saying you need to have the platform and infrastructure that allows you to integrate. You need the team, right, that can execute. But it really is a culture question, right? Do the land-based operators buy in, right? And they need to buy in, and so there needs to be. I mean, that ultimately will dictate, because if even building the or executing on the plan, none of that happens without the right culture, right? Can't be overstated, I don't think.
I would challenge how hard you think it is to do some of these things. I think that's a lie that we've been telling ourselves to stay complacent in not entering omnichannel effectively. When you're motivated, it's easy to implement. The launch that we did, 8 weeks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I would just add one more thing. Consistency to what everybody was saying. You have to have the same product. So your example of Caesars, they're putting in Evolution Studio, who has our equipment in it as well. But if you go to Caesars land-based, it's completely different experience. There's no, it's not the same brands. You're not playing the same games. It's from a table games perspective. It's just completely different. So that's where we have struggled to get operators on the online and land-based side to come to an agreement saying we need some consistency.
Do you think it's fair that the omni-channel is not totally focused on the millennial or the Gen Z? It's actually your current player, 40 plus?
It should be. That's where the money is at the moment. I mean, that's where the most money is. So, I mean, we obviously have to future-proof our businesses, of course, but we shouldn't just be trying to appeal to the young guys and not the ones with the money.
And by the way, yeah, that's a trap, right? Like, we've seen this, floors being converted to esports arenas. It's a trap to move too fast, right? It does take time, and the more data you get, the better. But you still got to go to the bread and butter, right? At the end of the day, your bonus is quarterly or annually, and you optimize your existing database, understanding what the future holds.
All right, guys. I got to save some for more later. So if that's it, thank you, panel.